Hey, what's up, everybody? So, hoping to go for a hike this morning. It's about 9:30 out now. It's pretty cold. It's supposed to rain today, which is kind of funny because we're, in almost at the end of April right now. But is what it is. Hoping to hike probably in West Virginia area, close to the border. But right now, I'm waiting for my house to close because I'm moving down here and staying at my buddy's place, Eric, who's on the channel all the time. And he woke up this morning to go to work and come to find out that his vehicle's dead. And I get out onto the porch in the rain last night and found out that my hiking boots are soaked. So not an ideal start to the day, but still going to try to get out there. Hopefully we can get some of it on film, some cool hiking, get to see some of the terrain here. It's a pretty awesome place back in here. So yeah. You can tell it's really been raining. A couple months ago, it was all completely dry. Now it's an entire river. Pretty cool. This is one of the coolest things about this trail. How it opens up into the power lines. And you can just see for miles and miles and miles. So yeah, the more we get back in here, the thicker it's gonna get. There's a lot of deer sign back in here, so hopefully we can see some deer. Maybe I can get some pictures of them or even get them on video if I'm lucky. But I know they bed down right back in here. A lot of people hunt back here. This is George Washington National Forest, so there's about 10,000 acres to hike through. Obviously, I'm only going to go for a little bit today. Yeah, but we'll see what else we got up here. I'll give you an idea of what the trail looks like. It's a pretty well-traveled trail, but there's nobody out here today, so yeah, pretty cool. So this is pretty cool. I just found this big guy here, just laying in the woods. Yeah, I'm not really sure what kind of snake that is, but he's a giant. Try to get some pictures of him too. Yeah, I just saw him laying back here. I'm not a huge fan of snakes, but I'll try to get some information on him then. But yeah, pretty cool. I always think stuff like this is super interesting. This giant pine tree knocked down in a storm. The amount of force from that wind and the rotting in the tree. You can just imagine the sound that made. Or maybe it didn't make a sound. Just joking. But it's just crazy if you think about the amount of force that had to take to knock something like that down. That's why having snags around your house and things like that is so dangerous. You always got to be careful because a big storm turns a pine tree into a giant sail. If it has rotting like that, just crazy how a tree like that weighs how much, and that had to come crashing down at some point. Maybe it's boring to everybody else, but I think it's super interesting. So I've been hiking for a little while now, probably gone like 5, maybe 6 miles. But it seemed like a good time to stop and take a break with the sun out. It's a little windy, so
hopefully audio is not too bad. And as Eric and I keep getting back into this YouTube thing, because we just have a blast doing it, we're hoping, to get some better equipment and stuff. But as I was hiking, I was just thinking, so a little bit of an update on me since like our whole channel started and all that stuff. I worked in law enforcement now, been an infantry soldier for about 4.5 years with the Guard, gotten to go different places in the world and do all sorts of training, both in law enforcement and in the military. And I was just thinking how, once the veil is taken off, you really can't put it back on. And like how I've personally had to think and deal with that. And what I mean by that is, in our American society with COVID and all that stuff going on now, people are starting to realize that, everything's not as secure as they think it is. And that's stuff that law enforcement and military people know very well. But I guess my thought kind of is the whole story of like Adam and Eve. I'm not a super religious person, but the story of Adam and Eve, they're in this beautiful garden and everything's perfect, and all they have to do is not eat from like the one tree. And then once they do, that's when they start to realize like all the bad things, because it's the tree of knowledge. And once you get the knowledge, you can't put the cat back in the bag, so to say. And once you're exposed to the bad and you realize how much evil's around you and things like that, can't put it back. Then it just changes your mindset and how you view the entire world. And I would argue that that's one of the things that military and law enforcement struggle with the most, is your skewed view of the world, because you end up seeing just the bad all the time. And most people around you only see the good all the time. So when they get the chance to talk to somebody who's seen bad, they're really interested in your stories and things like that. But it just makes you feel like outcasted from like the rest of the society. So, when the whole thing comes up of like supporting law enforcement, and and I don't support everything that law enforcement does, but when it comes to your support for the military and law enforcement, a lot of that support is just saying thank you for being the person that deals with that bad stuff every day so that our society doesn't have to. Think about how the world's evolved now and how most people don't have to see really anything bad because they're so well protected by the system that we have built up. With all the flaws that the system has, it really does a good job though at protecting people from seeing evil. And I think that's why it's so hard for people. Well, let me go back. I think that's why it's so easy for people to look at the military and law enforcement and question the things that they do, or say they should have done it this way or that way. And I really think that all stems from people being so well protected and not needing to see bad things. And that just leads me into one more story. So I used to teach or help instruct martial arts at this one school that was near my house. And one of the guys who came in there, he was in his mid-40s. And I said, what brought you in here to train? Because obviously when you're teaching people self-defense and stuff like that, knowing that motivation, it helps you, train them. And he said that him and his wife and kid were at a bar in Philadelphia. And this drunk guy came up to their table and started harassing him and his wife. And he said it was at that point in his life he realized that if that guy wanted to hurt his family, he didn't have the training, he didn't have the awareness, he didn't have the tools to be able to defend him and his family. And at that point the veil was, ripped off. And that's why he wanted to start training, because he wanted to be able to protect his family if that moment ever came again. And luckily the drunk guy ended up walking away and there wasn't any problems, but it just shows how we live in such a fickle society that's just about me, and it's not about all of us together. And the cool thing about this COVID thing, for all the bad it's doing, it's really showing us that we're all one team. You know, the same thing happened after 9/11 too. But, you know, once that cat's out of the bag, you can't put it back in. And I think that's why training's so important. But, yeah. Leave a comment down below. I'd like to hear some other people's opinions on what I'm saying. You know, just something I was thinking about while I was out walking today. My mind, you know, starts to wander a little bit and thinks about random things, and just be interested to hear some other people's opinions on that. You know, how do you balance having a society where the warriors are so far removed from normal society that they, you know, deal with different things, and that goes for EMS, law enforcement, firefighters, you know, all the first responders, military also, but how they see all the things that nobody else has to, but then they live in a society where they're constantly questioned. Just an interesting thing to think about, and I'd like to hear some other people's opinions on that. But that's my little wood spiel for today. Back to hiking. Well, back out of the thick woods again, back out into the clearing close to my truck. But yeah, all in all, it's a beautiful day. Even though it's a little windy, it cools you down. For all you guys that are stuck at home and can't go to the gym and you can't get out and do anything, put some weight on your back and get out into the woods and hike around a little bit, because we're going to be back into the swing of training again soon. Just saying. But yeah, had a blast out here hiking today. I hope you guys can see that view behind me, but it's just gorgeous up here. It's a little thick. I wish I could have shared a little bit better footage, but it is what it is. Now back to the house.